Hey everyone, today we're going to go over some new features on the DeepML site. And these features are made to help you really understand some key concepts in machine learning and deep learning, as well as being able to show off these concepts to a potential employer. So let's first go over an overview of what we're going to cover in this video, and then we'll go through and one of these new features and show them off a little. So, our goal at DeepML is to help you with these three questions or these three issues that people face. Issue number one: how do I solve hard questions? Issue number two: how do I know if I really understand something? How do I know if I know something? Number three: how do I show off that I understood something to potential employers or communities or anyone, or even to myself? So, let's start off with number one: how do I solve hard questions? So currently, I guess the paradigm to solving difficult questions. Let me just move this over a little. You could try to solve an easier question and hope that that easy question, relates to your current question, but like it's probably not going to relate exactly. It won't give you the exact building blocks you need to solve your current question you're working on. You could also watch videos and read tutorials, and there's a lot of, there's not a set up, there's no set amount of steps that you could take to be able to solve a difficult or challenging problem that you're having. Or there could be steps that you could take, but they probably won't be the most efficient thing. Another thing you could do that most programmers do when they can't solve a question is just keep on rerunning your code again and again and again and hoping for a different outcome. I've done this more times than I like to admit. It doesn't really work out so well. So here at DeepML, we tried to basically give everyone an option for at least the daily question. So if I go to the daily question, try to solve it, I could read through this question. I'm trying to make batches of a data set. Unless I read through this whole question, I don't really understand it. We give the option for a learn section, and you maybe understand on a high level, but programming it is a little difficult, or maybe you don't understand it at all. We have this new feature right up here, problem breakdowns. So this will take the problem and I'll break it down into small, easy to solve steps to help you build up the skills you need to actually solve the main question. And this is available for all questions for premium users, but it's also available for everyone for free on the daily question. So you could go through each one of these. I think I have a no, I don't have a save submit. Here it's just saying, very basic, very simple question: how many values are in this array. So, and you could see, there's an input, output, and some reasoning. So for here, we could just say, length of the input x. Need to make sure numpy is also already imported. And I could just run the code right here and wait a little time. And you'll basically see like, yep, you got it right. So that means you understood this core concept and you can move on to the next question. And if you want to skip something, you could easily skip it like that. But it's a tool to basically help you understand, any question should theoretically be solvable by anyone if it's broken up into small enough steps. And that's, our philosophy there. And our goal is to try and help you out as much as we can when it comes to solving questions. Next up, how do I know if I know something? So this question is something I dealt with a lot. So if I read an article or I watched a video or I read a book, I feel like I just read it and I don't know how much of it I truly understand. Or if I watch a video, what percentage of that am I actually what percent of it do I know? Did I space out during half of it? Do I like what percent do I know? Um, you have I guess the classic way of doing it, or the way that I came up with. I mean, that I guess a lot of people do at this point is building things from scratch. So you'll basically learn a concept, try and implement it from scratch. This could be relatively difficult for papers, for instance. Like, let's say you read an entire paper and you're trying to implement it from scratch, and it's a very big, daunting task, and it might be a little difficult to do. And also, you don't know exactly what you need to implement. What don't you really need to implement? So for this, we basically created problem collections. Problem collections are a collection of questions based on a paper or a video or potentially a book. Right now, we only have papers and videos and these three main core concepts. But let's look at ResNet. So ResNet, view the resource. This was a very popular paper talking about basically right here the residual learning building block. So if you want to understand, let's say you read this paper and you want to see how much you understood, or you didn't read the paper yet and you want to like prep to it and understand all the math and all the coding aspects you need to implement this, you could simply go to our site, um, solve, you click on the question, you could solve this question, and then this one, and then this one, and so on until you solve all of the elements in the collection. And once you solve this question, this sort of goes into our next question. So, but basically, let's wrap up this question of the how do I know if I know something? If I'm able to solve all the questions for the ResNet paper, I could assume that I truly understood, this ResNet paper because I was able to implement everything here just with NumPy. Now, going into the next question is how do I show off that I know something? So, usually it's, you have to go to school and you get a degree and you're able to show off to an employer, like, hey, I understand something, here's my proof. But let's say with a lot of machine learning and data science and, all of those AI fields, we're always constantly learning. We're trying to learn new things, and there's no way to show off like, hey, I read this paper or I watched this video or I read this book. You could theoretically put something on your GitHub, but like they don't like it's not so reliable, and anyone could clone a GitHub repo. So what we did is, how do you know? How does anyone know that you read a paper? So what we did is we have again the collections, and if you complete a collection, here's a premium collection I finished. You could basically you get a badge, and with that badge, you could put it on your LinkedIn. And you just follow these steps, and it will be placed on your LinkedIn. You could share it on Twitter or Facebook or anything you really want. And this will just say like, hey, I was able to understand, this was for the micrograd enterocarpathy video. And this is basically saying like, I understood this enough to implement things from scratch. And this is something you could show off to potential employers and, just show off your skills, that your self-studying skills. Lastly, we're going to talk about, so right now we talked about these three things and how DeepML helps you out with, solving hard questions, helping you understand if you really understood something, and you know showing off your skills. One last feature, I think this is a fun feature. It will just help your learning experience with any question, all questions, and we made this free to everyone. There's a notebook mode, and a notebook mode basically lets you read through this question, so you can read through it. And this is just like a little scratch pad, so you could just test things out. You could say like, "Oh, I don't really understand this, and I don't want to run the code, make a little change, run the code. It makes it more dynamic and friendly." So you could say like, oh, print hi, or whatever you want to do here. This is just a notebook, and it's very, in my opinion, very helpful. Uh, Lets you iterate through the process a lot easier. So that's, those are the new features in DeepML. I'd love to hear any thoughts on new features that you're thinking of that you think would make the, site better. If you see any issues with the features we currently have, let me know. We have our Discord. You could write it down in the comments here or you can follow us on Twitter. We're always looking at there, our Discord, Twitter, YouTube, really anything. Thank you guys. Have a good day.